Go ahead and click. There we go. So welcome everybody to the October meeting. I'll pass it over to our co-chair, Martha. Go ahead.
Good morning, you all. So today for our little icebreaker to get us all to help know each other, we're going to talk about your state. So if I was visiting your state, what is one of your favorite things that you'd want to be sure to tell me to visit or do? So does anyone have a great idea?
Did you want to maybe go first and introduce yourself too?
I can. So I'm Martha Hagan. I'm from Kansas. I live in Topeka, Kansas. I'm a consultant with the Association of Public Health Nutritionists, and I used to work for the state of Kansas for the State WIC program. And if you were coming to visit Kansas, I would be sure to tell you to visit the Flint Hills. They're beautiful all times of year. They're especially beautiful in the fall, and there's some really nice scenic drives that I would give you a map to.
Nice.
See if I just call on my next person. I see, well, Carol McGowan, you're on. Do you want to talk?
Sure. Hi, this is Carol McGowan. So I'm going to throw out two things that are city related because some people like to spend money and some people don't. So if you like to spend money, but it's worth it, it's worth every penny. The Civil and Human Rights Museum in downtown Atlanta is a real treasure, educational treasure, and everybody should see it. If you don't want to spend money, the Atlanta Beltway is it's getting completed piece by piece, and it's going to join neighborhoods, schools, parks, eating establishments. It's a real boon for the city and a really great place for people to spend time.
Let's see. Next on my list, well, I see Miriam next on my list. Do you want to go, Miriam?
Yeah, no problem. So hi everyone, Miriam here. I'm from Chicago. I would say my favorite thing I always take people when they're visiting me are the rooftops. So one in particular is Cindy's. It's part of the Chicago Athletic Association Club. It's downtown and has an amazing view, really good food and cocktails. And it's just one of my go-tos where I'm just like, you have to see this view.
Nice. Stefana, you're from Kansas too. You want to tell us what else besides the Flint Hills?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
I have some loud little ones today. Let's see. I'm Stefana Rupnicki from Kansas. I am originally born and raised in Kansas City, Kansas area until I was 10, and then I grew up on the Kickapoo Reservation, Potawatomi Reservation. So I would say if you're able to, check out powwows if you come to Kansas. We usually have them in the summertime.
Awesome.
Great, you could give us a list.
We have the Prairie Band Potawatomi powwow, which we haven't. This is the second year that we haven't had it. The same thing with Kickapoo powwow. Haskell Indian Nation University powwow is really nice. And then the Iowa powwow, which is up in White Cloud, Kansas. I think that's about, and then there is the intertribal powwow that happens in Topeka with, I believe, Citizen Band and a couple other tribes that get together.
Great, thanks. Lourdes, how about you?
I'm here. Sorry, I came in late to the call. So what, are we making different suggestions about places where to have it?
No, this is if I was coming to visit you, what in your area would you be sure to tell me to visit because it's your favorite and it would represent your area?
Oh wow, I would say like the eastern part of the island has El Yunque National Rainforest, which is just like a beautiful place to go visit. There's also a bioluminescent bay in the eastern part of the island as well. So I think that those are good places to go visit. If it were in San Juan, there's a lot of historical sites. And really, it's a small island. And I would say if you come, stay longer because there's a lot that you can see but I would definitely say El Yunque and Old San Juan, there are a few bioluminescent bays. There's one in the southwest, there's one in the east, and there's one on Vieques Island.
Great, thanks. How about you, Pauline? Maybe she's not there. Let's skip to Jacqueline.
I see her.
Can you hear me? Yep,
Okay.
she was there.
There you
There you
go.
go.
Start it out.
Sorry.
Pauline?
I'm from California, and I would say we just had our first rain in I don't know how many months, so we're all celebrating. But this time of the year, if anybody wants to come to California and during the pandemic, because it's outdoors, I would say go to Yosemite. There are hardly any visitors right now this time of year. It's gorgeous weather, and yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful there. Jacqueline, now I'll move to you.
Hello, good morning, afternoon, wherever everyone is. If you were to come to visit me, I would say our Blues Museum. We have several in different parts of the state, but definitely where I am, I would say the Delta Blues Museum here in Indianola, Mississippi, the home of B.B. King. Or if you go about 45 minutes away to one of the other counties, I would say in Bolivar County, visit the Grammy Museum. So again, music, the birthplace. And then if you would decide to go an extra 45 minutes away from Bolivar County, I would say go to Clarksdale North and visit the museum, the home of Morgan Freeman. So those are I like museums, looking at historical things, and especially music, seeing the origin of where everyone, come from. So that's what I would say.
Nice. Dana?
Hi, everyone. Dana Huntley. I'm in North Carolina. I think the pressure of finding something for you to do would be a lot for me. But I guess one cool thing about our state is there's so much to do, but we have mountains and we have beaches. So if you could take a few days and come, just plan to see it all and do a road trip across the state to see the different things, like being able to do mountains and beach in one day.
That would be great. Camille, I think I have you next.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Camille. I live in Massachusetts, so I'm about 45 minutes west of Boston. And so something that I would say, I actually had someone visiting recently, and I took her to the Minuteman Trail. So I live really close to Concord, like Lexington and Concord, AKA the battle that started the Revolutionary War, blah, blah, blah. But it's really fun because there are historic homes on it, and sometimes park officials are there, and even in costume, and they'll do things with muskets, and they'll be sewing and cider pressing and all these things. And so there's houses, and then also it's a walk, which PS, like, you're gonna visit, if you visit with me, we're gonna have a walk somewhere. So might as well get a little history in on it. And the Louisa May Alcott house is there. I haven't been there yet, but it's right there also. I mean, the place is, lousy with history. So I would say Minuteman Trail, and pass it back to you.
Sounds really fun. I'm going to come walk with you. Let's see, who do I have next? Oh, Alyssa, are you on there? You want to tell us what we should do?
Yeah, hi everyone. I live in Eugene, Oregon right now. So similarly to Dana, you can do both coast and mountains in a day. I have recently gotten really into rock hounding, mostly finding agates. And so I would probably selfishly say that we should go to Central Oregon and the high desert to go looking for geodes and thunder eggs and all that stuff. Also, because most people that visit Oregon or even live here don't go further east than Bend. So showing them the other 2/3 of the state would be a cool way to get a sense of it.
That would be fun. I've always wanted to go search for diamonds in Arkansas. So I think that would be fun to go look for those. And Nakia, I think you're my last person, unless I missed somebody, which I probably did.
In all of this time, I haven't really thought of any good stuff. So I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, and I think that anybody who's in Maryland should visit the Chesapeake. I mean, you don't really get an idea of just how big the bay is. And I was in Woodbridge, not Woodbridge, I went down to Williamsburg, Virginia, and realized that all of that is the Chesapeake Bay still. I was like, what in the world? So visit the bay, have some crabs. And if you're going to be in Baltimore City, I think that come in the summer, come in July, we have the biggest outdoor arts festival in the country. It is called, okay, now I can't remember the name. I'll put it in the chat because it's going to come to me as soon as I stop talking. Artscape is awesome. It is inevitably the hottest day of any day in the summer. And it's 1 million people outside for like 3 days, all kinds of vendors, all kinds of art. It's incredible. And they have it between like kind of near some of the big art museums, and it stretches across lots and lots of blocks. So it's a great outdoor time. It's music. I mean, I heard the Fugees one year. It's good.
That sounds fun. Did I miss anyone at all that didn't get to tell us about their?
I don't see anyone else.
I don't either. So, okay. Thought I'd check. Okie dokie. We're done with our icebreaker then, Miriam.
Perfect. Are you guys still seeing my screen?
I am. So we need to run through our community agreements, and I'm just going to read through them for you all. So remember that everyone participates. Step up, step back, participate fully and evenly. Listen well for deep understanding and respect. Be fully present and open to new learning. Speak your discomforts. Place your technology on silent and stay checked in. Share using I statements, and share responsibility for the success of each meeting.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Martha. And so today, just really quickly going through the agenda. We're going to be finalizing, hopefully, our conference theme. We're going to start talking about the different learning objectives that will lead us to, our learning arcs that will lead us to learning objectives. And we're going to end with a conference format update. So let's get right into our theme discussion. So thank you all for participating in the survey, the part 2 survey. These were our 3 top choices. So if everybody can read together, these are 3 top choices. We can talk about these a little bit more. There were 2 new suggestions. So if there's one that you really, really like, we can start from there, or we could take a vote if we're ready, or we can wordsmith a little bit more, depending on how we all feel. Does anybody have any opinions right off the bat? And Lourdes, I know you weren't with us for the first meeting, so any opinions? I'd be interested to hear.
This is Carol. I actually like the third one because, sorry, the second one, because I think it's important to focus on the future, but build on the past. So I like the focus on where we're going to be listed first. I do like that word pathfinders though on the new suggestions.
And this is Martha, and I was thinking I like number 1, but then when I look at number 2, as Carol was suggesting, I like that word collectively. So, we're working together. So I think that is a nice addition.
So we're looking at number 2. Any other thoughts?
I like something, this is Camille. Hi, everyone. I like the straightforwardness of the third one. And I believe that I like the sort of the celebration from the past and the past wisdom, and maybe we need to wordsmith it a little bit. And I also like the nurturing of the future. So I like I like that being a nurturing feeling. So I could also imagine maybe some of that concept of nurturing could go into, instead of, I don't know. I think, yeah, I'll just pause there. I like those concepts.
Okay, so we're leaning towards 2 and 3. Nikia says, you have any suggestion? I'll wait for that. I think you're probably typing it in.
No, I just kind of I like that idea of reclaiming. I don't like the whole thing, but I really like the idea of reclaiming, and there's something about the word of pathfinding that really resonates well with me.
Oh, okay, so you're throwing this one in the top.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're like, what? You're messing up my flow. Sorry.
How do other people feel? Do we see maybe any way we can combine these, make them, you know, fully what we're looking for? I feel like there's pieces of each that we like.
Like maybe something like collectively weaving and I don't know, I think there might be a more interesting word than better. So I would highlight the word better, that could be perhaps improved. And then I could add the word like celebrating lactation wisdom. So it gets the celebration, pulling that up to the second one too. I'm trying to make the second one add the concepts that were also lifted. So like collectively weaving a future, celebrating lactation wisdom, and pathfinding innovation, or nurturing innovation. Maybe that.
Okay, you said a lot of words.
I know. Well, you can put words in a minute. I'll start typing and see what we get.
Okay.
I need to be honest, I'm in the car and I'm unable to read, so I don't know what you all are talking about.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So I can read these out, Lourdes. So number 1 was moving from past to future, weaving together lactation wisdom and support. Number 2, which has some votes under it currently, is collectively weaving a better future, lactation wisdom and innovation. Number 3, which had some votes, is celebrating the past and nurturing the future of lactation support. And then the 2 new ones that were thrown in here were cultivating our capacity to evolve and expand the lactation landscape, and pathfinders, taking our past and reclaiming our future in traditional milk medicine.
I like them all.
Yeah, we were onto something last month, and now we're just trying to get the final product. So if anybody wants to start typing also in the chat, I'll be sure to keep an eye and pull your ideas in here. So I see, Camille, you said collectively weaving a stronger future, celebrating traditional wisdom, and nourishing innovation. Oh gosh, good. You pulled out lactation. I did notice that. I could bring these over. How do we feel about that?
I like anything that honors the past at the same time that is really focused on empowering and educating the future. So I do like what's being said there.
Maybe the lactation could come back in, so it could be collectively weaving a stronger, then it's future of lactation support, it's so many words. Sorry, I edit myself.
Maybe intergenerational could be a word.
Intergenerational.
Maybe we have a miscellaneous words collection, Miriam.
Yeah, because I know people liked Pathfinders, we liked Reclaiming. Intergenerational. Did I fix it?
Nakia just chatted one too. Yeah, I like that trimming, Nakia. Nakia shared collective too. Actually like the second one even more. Collective work, celebrating lactation wisdom and nurturing innovations. Or it could be collective weaving, celebrating lactation wisdom and nurturing innovations. I like the second one.
I only put the weaving on there because everybody was liking weaving. I also like I like work, and I think that it focused on the fact that we do collective impact work and we're all trying to do something together. And I took off the S from innovations and just changed it to celebrating lactation wisdom and nurturing innovation. And as we keep plunder, I don't know if that's a thing or if it resonates with anybody, but I'm going to prayerfully urge and hope and suggest that we do something different than having a super long title this year.
I like that.
Yeah,
Could we just be Pathfinders? This is Stefana, by the way.
What was that, Stefana?
What Nikki was saying about how not having a long title, like just something like Pathfinders would have been or something. I think that encompasses all things.
Yeah, so Pathfinders. Do you know maybe where you would include it, Stefana? Can you maybe type? And I could bring it in.
She was suggesting it as a single word theme. Am I right, Stefana?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, like rise or thrive or shine or respect or, things like that. Just having that be it, that's a big departure. Very exciting. Worth considering.
Because I know when we had our last visit, I'm actually is the one that came up with the Pathfinders, taking our past and reclaiming our future. And so when I kept on hearing, all I kept on going is like our path. That's our past, that's our present, and that's our future, and everything that encompasses. So that's why I kind of went with that Pathfinders. That's what I was getting towards when everybody was talking and throwing out their suggestions.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if it also works. I mean, I do like this, like with the colon, just a few more words. But what do other people think? Carol, I think I heard from you at some point.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to, I like the idea of something that sounds like not a call to action, but that's very active. Not just a celebration, but we still have a lot of work to do, which involves using what we know, but also becoming innovative. So I don't want to lose that part of it. And I like Stefana's interpretation of Pathfinder. I think that carries some weight with me.
What about this? Nakia wrote this into the chat box. It's pathfinding, celebrating lactation wisdom, and nurturing innovation. And then we have another one. I'm losing my place in the chat box.
Alyssa has a good one. Pathfinding, honoring lactation wisdom and empowering the future.
Yeah, some of the stuff after pathfinding is what Lourdes had said out loud earlier that I really liked. The just like honoring wisdom and empowering the future. So I copied that from you, Lourdes.
Like that.
Yeah, I think that's why I was gonna say, oh, I really like that.
I like that as well. That's really pathfinding. I'm reading it again. Honoring lactation wisdom. So it's honoring, I think that's strong, and empowering the future. Empowering is still can be a difficult word. I just want to lift. It can be understood in different ways. And so I wonder if maybe we could think about that word. Just it has sometimes it's heard as a conferring of power rather than self having power. And why is there a need for empowering it all? Because there's been disempowerment. It's just it can be a complicated word. Just doing that. But I love everything about the arc of it.
Yeah, I'm still gonna give my opinion on the innovation, because I think we're at a crossroads right now. We've had such a horrible 2 years of a lot of different things happening that were not good, that really hurt mothers and the support for mothers. And I think we have to do more than, we have to continue to do the good work we're doing, but we have got to come up with more because of the challenges that we have. So
I'm throwing one out here, kind of combining these two. So honoring lactation wisdom and nurturing innovation.
Jinx, I was right there with you. And I also like pathfinders. So pathfinders, honoring lactation wisdom and nurturing innovation, rather than necessarily finding. I still think pathfinders is like powerful sounding. Alyssa likes that.
I think a theme like that is going to bring us the right mix of presenters. I can see both areas getting a really good bunch of abstracts in.
All right.
So
Go ahead, Nakia.
which is so many themes out here. Maybe you're about to do it, but I'm wondering if we can start taking some stuff, like, go to a new page and start taking some stuff off, because I'm not tracking with you much anymore.
Yeah, so I think we are mainly looking at this, and I'm reading the chat box. It's going too fast now. Let me make it a little bigger. So people like this, let's see. It's pretty, I like that. Loving this theme, I like this, loving. And then there were some slight changes now of, I think I see yours, honoring lactation wisdom and celebrating innovation. So that's a slight change.
That was before somebody came up with nurturing innovation.
Okay. Oh gosh, I don't know what that was.
And just for the folks on the phone, so right now what we're looking at visually is pathfinders, honoring lactation wisdom and nurturing innovation.
So we do like nurturing more than
I like nurturing more than celebrating. Celebrating is kind of feels like past, whereas nurturing.
So do we want to do a fist to five around nurturing versus do you want to do a fist to five around nurturing versus celebrating? Like, if we feel like I agree with you, there's a lot of good energy around this in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
And if people agree, then we can get ready to do a little bit of a vote so that we can actually see where people stand.
Agree. Okay, so yeah, let's do that. We can either have people type that they agree or which they prefer, or say out loud. I know, Lourdes, you said you're on the phone, and you said you prefer nurturing. Is that right?
Yeah, I like nurturing.
Okay. Camille likes nurturing. Pauline agrees.
With what? Nurturing, that we should vote?
With nurturing, I wrote in the chat, I prefer nurturing and nurturing innovation. And so Pauline agrees, Dana agrees, Lourdes agrees, Jackie agrees. Are any opposed to nurturing? We will celebrate for sure. And I think the honoring also brings that in as well, Stefan, if that, the honoring the wisdom gets, it has a, yeah. Nurturing. Carol says nurturing, she is good. Is anybody not good with nurturing? Sounds like a weird question. Or have any, it just, I know Nikia's like, did we do it? I feel like we might have.
I feel like we might have too. This feels really good.
I like this a lot.
And it's short.
And powerful. I really love Pathfinders. And I love that we really stayed true to our initial conversation, which was honoring the wisdom and also looking forward, which I think was, and that comes in both aspects with the Pathfinders and the innovation. I think it's a lot. And it says lactation in it. Hey.
We are checking off all the boxes. All right. That is so exciting. So I think we did it. I think if we wanted to do another Fist of Five, this is it. Carol says she likes it. Stefana, you like it. And we can celebrate. Woo.
I like it.
Lourdes likes it. Awesome. Awesome. We did it. So let's move to the learning arc. So now that we have our theme, we can think about some learning arcs. I totally forgot this isn't. Oops, and then I did that. 1 second. So last year we did 3 different learning arcs. We did resilience in communities, advocacy and policy, and an IYCFE learning arc. This year, you know, we can do whatever we need to do. We have our new theme. Some other arcs we talked about last year were leadership, partnership. I think based on this theme, it'd kind of be cool to have one based on the past, one on the future. I don't know. What are people thinking?
I'm thinking programs that have worked, like models that have worked in the past, or I don't know what the word would be around that, and then something that would have to do with mentorship, something that's building up.
Building up, yeah. So let me start a new page for this guy.
Stefan shared in the chat mentoring, that's mentorship or mentoring. That's a great one, which gets to the leadership and the future in a nice way. If you wanted to say more, I don't want to take your words, Stefan.
I think that goes along well with nurturing too, I feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's true.
and I like the idea I think Lourdes said about the past. And I was thinking something about like almost like case studies, like pulling tools out of case studies or some learning from the past. And so there's some germ of a thought in there. It's not fleshed yet.
That's kind of nice. Learning from the past as like a theme. And then we can, I'm trying to think, you know, what type of proposals this would attract. So this would be like best practices or something. And then like we said, nurturing, maybe mentoring, kind of what people are planning for the future. Visions for the future, that's nice. I'll bring that in.
Not to have a fight. And I think I would like to see something about not just like passing the torch, but like what is, maybe it's past and present, or maybe it's past, present, future or something, because like we do see that there are I'm gonna keep it 100 with you all. Like USBC is moving into more inclusive language, and I still get a lot of emails about you need to say mother and you need to say breast and not human milk. And there was also that dichotomy and that push-pull as USBC moved into more inclusivity and creating spaces, not that we're there yet, of belonging around diversity, equity, and inclusion and leading with the race. And I think that if we're going to go with this learning arc, we have to kind of create some, not learning arc, but with this theme, that we have to create some space of recognizing that there's tension and what are people doing with it? And how are you working on it? And what are you doing in your communities to move forward and change that arc?
I want to kind of make a comment. Maybe it's a little bit editorial. Having come from the La Leche League, but not being with them anymore, and realizing that they at their time were, what is the word that we use here? Terrible? No. What's the word that we use? Pathfinding. But that that there's some people who broke the mold afterwards to create programs that went beyond that, and I don't know how to make that into an art, but it's sort of like breaking the mold or taking risks or creating new models, but in the past tense, not only in the future, like things that worked that broke the mold. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote down here breaking the mold, risks, new models. I'm also like, how can we build this into a learning arc where it's like there's a shift here? And it speaks to what you were saying, Nakia, like the present kind of like moving. Does anybody have any other ideas? We want to collect as much as we can, and then if needed, we can clean it up a little bit after the meeting. And we're also gonna have what we did last year was a survey for the objectives, kind of based on these arcs. So we can do that survey to also include kind of the cleaning up of the arcs. Whatever. And then I see, Camille, you added 2 new ones.
One is there. You have already learning from the past, like best practices and case studies and tools. And then I thought, based on what I was hearing and what Nakia was suggesting and what Lourdes was saying, was maybe like leaning into the future, because I feel like you have to really be leaning in. And then maybe parentheses would be like tension points and hot topics or something, or innovations.
Oh, I see.
Like that. I'm just thinking of like what would fit into it. So like I have to think about the practical, like what are the topics within the arc in order for my brain to work. So that's why I did that way.
Okay, so things happening in the chat box. Pauline, you're saying, what can we carry forward that will support breastfeeding in the future? Nice, definitely. i.e. family changes, economy, or legislative issues. Maybe survive in the future. And then we have a liking of the hot topics. And okay, you're suggesting policy and advocacy again. I mean, that is a topic that's always pertinent. So we could do one that's policy and advocacy, and then maybe a past and future one, or we have lots of options.
Do we think that in my mind is a question for the group. Do you all feel very attached to having a certain number? I feel like we could have two, like sort of something pastish, something future-ish. I'm hearing, if we put policy and advocacy, that's also pretty sort of future-ish. I'm feeling like we could have two rather than three. And I think in the flow of things, when people, really like connection time and really like small group talking on certain topics, it may behoove us to have two, and rather than having too many. I don't know. Does anybody have a feeling about number? Nakia, do you? This is sort of your sweet spot.
I mean, no, I mean, I think it probably behooves us to get as many overarching ideas down now, so that people so that we know that what excited us about about this theme, that all of the ways that we want to learn about it and lean into it, that we're thinking about it now. And we get to do we can narrow it down, clean it up and narrow it down later. Yeah, that's what I think. But to the point that should there be two? Yeah, sure. But should there be two right now? Probably not.
I was also thinking, like the past and the future kind of are very general, and anything can be under that, So I don't know if that means like sub arcs, or just like keeping in mind that we can have policy and advocacy in both of these categories. We can have, DI work in both of these categories. We can have anything else that we might want to bring into the actual conference content can live in either of the two general learning arcs.
That feels good. I would be interested in seeing the learning arc. I know you said all of this, and now I'm going, but anyway, I think that I would be actually interested in seeing a learning arc where we're actually pulling in voices from people with different kinds of identifiers. So people who don't identify as a woman, but who are providing milk. Not like those presenters themselves, but like not that person, but like people who are working with these communities. Like, what is the overarching work? Like, I'm thinking about, where is USBC in a space of needing to lean in? We're in a space of needing to lean in and have more innovation and more voices at the table from people who are advocates about neurodivergency and advocates around LGBTQIA+, and like, those are some of the spaces where we as an organization are needing to lean in and build our own organizational muscle. And so I would love to be able to hear voices like Dana has talked about in the past, wanting to hear from somebody who is working with lactating people who are deaf, or who are, who have different types of abilities. Or so I think that a theme that kind of really focused on bringing in those presentations would be interesting. And sometimes you have to do the specific call out to get it.
Yeah, Nikki, I agree with you 100% on that one. I also want to bring up the idea of understanding where we are in terms of going back to policy and advocacy, what the priorities are, and making sure that we continue to be relevant as we fit in with the spectrum of health. And I know that there's a huge focus on maternal health right now, which is really important because of maternal mortality. Where do we fit in, for example, into that picture? I think we need to not forget, because I got worried when I heard Pauline say survive, and I'm going, yeah, that's right. We have to think about that.
Yeah, these are all great ideas. So I'm adding just words now as well. So I see Stefana, you added traditional and medicine, and how it relates to like how milk is the first food. I like that too. Honoring. Milk is the first ingredient.
I was listening to an interview this weekend, and I don't remember who it was that was speaking because I was only half listening while I was cleaning house. But there was a comment when they were talking about paternity and paternal leave, not just maternal leave. And yeah, I'm using dichotomous words here. But one of the legislators or congressional people made a comment about why do fathers need to take that much time off? Are they going to breastfeed their babies or something? Totally missing the point of nurturing the family. And so, yeah, I don't want to forget that other aspect of it as well. The environment around the baby and its caregiver.
So Nikia added in here, surviving and thriving as, did you mean a field, Nikia?
Yeah.
Prioritizing the needs of the unseen. It's a whole. I feel like that speaks to a lot of the different groups that we've been hearing about. All right. Do we have any other ideas? I think we can definitely keep thinking. We can send, like I said, a survey to kind of give us some time to marinate, add anything that we might think of as new, and maybe even clean some of these up and have them as options. So how do we feel?
That sounds good.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So then I will throw the slides back on here and I'll pass it to you, Camille.
Okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. So we wanted to have a brief I guess as long as conversation as we want about conference format. So I know last month we said that we would talk a little bit more about this, and we mentioned a few of the things that we were thinking of and a few of the things that we were doing in the intervening time. And so we just wanted to kind of update everyone as to where we are and some of those things, and kind of see where that takes us. If you wanted to go to the next slide. So our commitment, and Nikia framed this up really well for us, because as we kind of think about, our conference format, are we in person, are we virtual, are we hybrid, like we kind of get in the weeds, and she really helped pull the lens right up. And the main things that we need to think about, and I think that this group is charged with, is our commitments and obligations, right? Our commitment, we must have a conference. We are going to have a conference of some kind. We must serve the most people in an equitable way. So that has been, something that we were working on. That's part of what USBC is about. And we must be good stewards of our finances, right? This money, either it's each and every penny we account for, and we are very, we do more with less in all ways, but we need to be good stewards of those funds, whether they're donated by individuals. And I'm not just thinking, we're funded for the conference, but like as people are spending their money to attend, not everybody is funded from their their employers or anything like that. So we're good stewards and we're thinking about that in lots of different ways. So those are kind of our commitments and obligations as we see them. I would open it just if any other folks have other thoughts kind of at that big cloud level that we should be bearing in mind. I would open it up. Or Nakia, if you wanted to say more about any of those. And if you're speaking, you're muted.
I was not speaking.
Just checking. All right, I'm going to take that as Camille, you said it. We did a great job. We'll move on. Let's go to the next slide. So one thing we did is that a few of us, Miriam, myself, and Leah attended the a pandemic compliance advisor training. It was a 3-hour workshop on Zoom, and it was pretty interesting. You know, when we have been thinking about our in-person events, we certainly use the CDC guidelines. It's like a 9-page document, and that's not like one thing per page. It's like lots of things per page for large group gatherings. And that was part of what helped us make some decisions in the past. And I know it will still, but this gathering also adds some to that. It levels it up a fair bit. Some of the things we learned, and I'll invite Miriam to share as well, but we really, in the training, what was focused on is how you really need to have a dedicated staff person kind of focused on pandemic. So it's not even the idea that this training was about COVID, sure, like that's where we are now, but it's kind of just broadly speaking applicable to pandemic. I think that's why they did it. I can imagine, for flu season, for other things, that all the things still make good sense, but that there's really needs to be a staff person dedicated to keeping their eyes on this, right? And especially obviously in an in-person setting. You're at your house, it's a different matter. But we need to have a person who works on this and is planning from the beginning. So the communications are drafted so that people know what they're getting into. They know the expectations of them. They know that if we are coming together in a group setting, vaccination would be most likely a mandate. I can imagine us deciding that. That's something that we can decide together. Masking may be a mandate. That's something we can decide together. In-person settings depends on the state, whether or not that's a mandate, right? It depends on what's going on. And it is at this point, we're talking about, when we're planning our event, we're thinking towards Scottsdale. That is a contract that we have been able to push forward from a few years back, right? Luckily, I had a rebooking clause in there. We were able to push it forward. So we have it to even to have this conversation and consideration. So we're not like thinking about new places to go. We're thinking about, are we in person in Scottsdale? Are we at home? And what I'm trying to share is a little bit about this, this pandemic compliance advisor training. So again, dedicated staff, so they can really track from the beginning to the end and through the event. So they can work with the hotel, they work with the humans. Every day there is a recommendation of a daily health screening. So every person that comes back, they stumble out of their room and go to breakfast, they need to have their temperature taken, they need to attest to their health, just like you do when you go to an appointment at the doctor, or they check in on your health screening. They made a lot of suggestions about learning pods, so a smaller group that you stay with for the course of the day, or perhaps days, but maybe it's a one day, we don't know, you can shape it. But rather than it being like you're in a big group and then, oh, it's breakout times and everybody's like running here and there and where do we go? And then you're in a different group. No, thank you. It would instead be you're in a group and that group is your group, perhaps for the day, perhaps for more. And the speakers would rotate, right? So the presenter is at the front of the room, a little bit of space. You get to hear all the talks at different times. You're still in small groups. You could still have breakout conversations within that pod, but that would be a different way to shape the experience rather than our usual thing, right? So there's a lot of great ideas in there anyway, I think are really interesting, but that was one that was suggested. Also, obviously, the social distancing, the masking I alluded to. So like that would be an everyday. In Scottsdale right now in Maricopa County, they do not have a mandate or a rule. We could certainly ask the hotel staff. I think it would be an ask that everyone who's involved with our group would please wear a mask during their interaction with us. You know, it's an ask, and I don't know, you know, how that always plays, but that's something to consider. And then one other piece that, you know, you notice I just like skipped right over it because I was like, I don't want to touch it, but it's the legal considerations. Miriam was like, I heard that loud and clear, and she did, and I did too. But it is like, you know, making sure that folks know that, you know, we're doing our very best. We're following public health guidelines. We're doing what we can. And there is a degree of risk that one would assume, right? So we might need to have a waiver signing party, so to speak, as well, so that people, if they're in person, are appraised of that. And again, that's part of the communication arc that we would need to manage if we're doing an in-person event. So I'm going to pause for now, invite Miriam to share. Malia was also there, but she's not able to join us this morning or this afternoon. So and then others, if you have questions or thoughts about that training and wanted to ask questions as well.
I would just say, I think you covered it super well. It was like a pretty extensive training, and these were all touched upon, and it definitely gave us a better idea of what an in-person conference would look like. And what the options are here. And I see Nakia is in the chat box.
You want to share out loud, Nakia? Just
saying that I did one of these pandemic, not nearly as detailed as what Miriam, Malia, and Camille attended, but where the speaker, the facilitator, did talk about, like, yeah, so the organizers did this work, they did the planning, but they were in a facility where those weren't the rules. And so they didn't have compliance even from like the hotel staff, the managers, around masking for their event, because it wasn't a part of that that city or county's rule system. So that's an actual thing that we need to think about, because this conference is in Arizona. I want to reiterate what Camille has said. What's not on the table is looking for a different venue. If we have a conference, it's in Arizona, because our money, point 3, we have to be good financial stewards. Our money is already obligated to Arizona from before.
Yeah, and it's so helpful to hear the sort of on the ground experience, right? So, you know, there can be a lot of yes, everyone will do blah, blah, blah. But again, what's the mechanism for kind of enforcing that, right? Is there this one person who's the pandemic compliance advisor person, and maybe that's, you know, me. I got my little score and my little card from that, but how empowered am I, and what do I get to do about it when somebody from the hotel staff is not wearing their thing? Do I then have to be chasing up the ladder? You know, what if some of our own folks are like, you know, tired of it? And please, I get that, right? So our folks, I think the agreement would be that, you know, we would make the agreement, whatever is the right agreement at that time. I imagine it would be still masking. You know, it's a fair number of months from now, but it feels like masking is just a smart thing anyway. People have colds and flus and things like that, and just seems like a good idea. So that seems to me kind of obvious, but you know, what are the mechanisms for that? And is everybody in our groups on the same page? But then, as Nakia alluded, like maybe the hotel says, yeah, of course we do it, whatever you want, but how do we enforce that? And you know, is being vaccinated going to be you know, a mandate for attendance? And that is a question, right? So I don't think that we have that figured out. You know, this is just what we're talking about. A lot of events, I mean, even New York City, you know, restaurants, you want to go to a restaurant, you show your Vax card. Otherwise you get taken, and that's okay. And so I think that, you know, if we are deciding to do an in-person event, we're going to have to figure out what is the, you know, what are the parameters, and also, you know, then what do we do for folks who can't travel aren't comfortable traveling, do we package up some of our, do we video basically? And do we, package that up and it's a different date and time? We've had some conversations about, it's a lot to manage for us to do a simultaneous, they call it a synchronous, not asynchronous, synchronous hybrid. So because of staffing and, how we usually have a lot of breakouts, it may be possible for us to do a one room kind of stream, all the sessions from this room are out, and there's a different pricing model for folks that are at home. We could consider that. Sorry, I'm seeing the chat, but I'm not able to track it all while I'm speaking. So just gonna scroll up. Alyssa, I think we're holding on that question that you asked directly. So we're going to hold on that for right now. Yeah, some events do a vaccine or a negative COVID test at least 48 hours before, right? So, showing that you've tested negative, if you are not vaccinated, it's kind of an either or, both would be nice. But that's another thing. Yeah, so, and Martha's asking a little bit about finances. So we can get to that. I think we have a slide for that. How do we navigate those lactating parents that might bring the little ones? Like as far as like a toddlers or babies, I think, the thing that I've heard about, well, I don't know. What I'd heard is that, we are a lactation oriented event. And to me, bringing babies and toddlers is fine. We know obviously they cannot be masked or vaccinated. And so I think that is just kind of part of the awareness risk that folks would take when they come. Like there might be babies here that are not vaccinated, and there may be toddlers, and like we welcome them and we love them and we want them to be here. So, and we want them to be with their caretakers and parents if they are. So I think that's just part of it, but I welcome other thoughts. So I'm going to open up the floor if anybody has thoughts. So we're not, I don't think that we're exactly at the point where we need to make a decision today. So this is what we've learned and we have some questions. Miriam, do you have a slide a little bit, the finance slide? I think we can share that as well. If it's.
Yep, I can pull that.
And then we have a questions slide as well that we can add to based on what people are asking about.
Yep. Are people seeing my screen? I don't know what I did.
Perfect, thank you. So one of the questions, and Nikia brought this up already, but our Scottsdale contract was negotiated. This was before 2020, right? It was supposed to be for our 2020 event. We pushed it and then we pushed it, and I, was able to do that. And there, there were some fees, but it is not a thing, right? With the decision point is for us, not until the beginning of the year. We don't actually have to make this decision today or even until, March. But we need to think about it and know kind of what we're planning for. I think for our call for presentation proposals, it's not the thing, right? We don't have to make this decision quite yet, but we want to just let you know in full disclosure what we're working on. So we can't just say, oh, we're going to have a smaller event, like a half-size conference, because once we get to half, and if we go to them and say we want to go half, we might as well just walk away because the contract was nullified, and half means 280 room nights. So, sometimes it sounds like, oh, we owe 560 room nights. That sounds like such a huge amount of things, but it's really not, because a 3-day, it's a multi-day event. 165 was our peak night. And if you think about 165 rooms and an expectation that we're going to have more than 300 people, you see there's like a lot of roommates, and there's a lot of, that was pretty conservative planning on my part some years ago. So it's not like it's a huge big number. It's just there. And also because it's in Arizona, it's a little bit further for folks to travel. So we need to allow, or for a big chunk to travel from the East Coast. So we need to allow for padding for getting in the night before to attend. So yeah, I mean, Nikia's reiterating, we're not waiting until March to make decisions. We are, I'm just letting folks know we're gonna make this decision beforehand. So the reason we are kind of chewing on this so much and not, just making, and we could just make the decision, but we're not making the decision just yet. But the reason it's important, because back to the financial stewards piece, is that if we go forward and we're like, we feel good, things are looking good, we really need to nail it, because that's the place where we end up owing a lot of money, right? If we plan, but then we falter, we owe a lot of extra money, and that is a burden that we don't have extra money floating around to cover those costs. Whereas if we decide anytime now or in the next couple of months to not have our event and we walk away, the money that has been spent has been spent. We don't owe any future dollars. And I think that that's pretty fundamentally important, right? We can't just we're not really gambling people, right? We can't roll the dice. We need to feel very confident that our people feel confident and excited and ready and able to travel. And at this point, we're not seeing that. Actually, I think maybe we should perhaps consider showing our slide about the survey we just did. I think we're going to reconsider. I don't know, where do we want to go from here, Miriam and Nikia?
We have 20 minutes. I think we can definitely do that slide if you wanted to.
I agree. Go for it.
Okay, let me just.
Thank you, Miriam. Sorry about the
No problem.
hiding. Pivot. Miriam is pivot. She's like pivoting in PowerPoint.
Is that it? Do you see it?
Not yet. Now I see it. Yes, thank you. So this is something that we know, some stuff we know. So we know that we had a very successful NBCC 21, right, on online event. We did a lot of surveying. It was built into the system. 98% said that it was a great forum. And I think that was only our first time out of the gate. So we felt really good about that. It's a very low cost, high impact. 99% agree, strongly agreed that the content was valuable and interesting, which that's awesome. And that's a testament to the program committee's efforts. And I just want to celebrate that. And I know that this group would do the same. And then 96% of attendees logged into the platform via the web. So we had 96%. And the reason it's not even higher is we actually had some pre-recorded talks by some of our presenters who knew they were never going to be able to come in person, and they came in. So it's sort of more like 100%. So that data point's a little misleading, but good to know. So, right. So we know it worked well. We know we have a great option should we not meet in person. And we also wanted to share, we did poll our membership during the recent meeting, the September membership. And we did this poll and we had about 80 something people in the group responded to the poll. It was right at the beginning and, or at the ending, excuse me. And we learned that 63% were uncomfortable or somewhat uncomfortable with large gatherings. So that's still more than half the group is not feeling it yet. 51% said they don't have any travel planned or they're uncertain about travel at this point. And 42% said that their employer was not allowing travel. So, and an additional 32% were not sure if their employer was allowing travel. So in the Venn diagram, which I should have used a Venn diagram picture, I don't even know if the 42% who said that they can't go is the same part of the same 63% who said they don't want to go anyway, or if it's a different group, which is problematic because if you have 60% of people saying they don't want to and 40% saying they can't, that's 100. Like I'm no math whiz, but that's 100. So we need to feel a lot better than we feel right now. If we were to have to make our decision today, I think we might lean towards not having an in-person event. We are holding that decision until a little bit later, just to give folks a little more time and see where we are. And I think, some of us are like, I'm like half the time, I'm like, let's rip off the Band-Aid. Let's just decide because it would be clean and easier, right? We just have our in-person event, but our hearts want to meet in person. And I don't want to say if everybody else is doing it, why can't we? But if everybody else is doing it, why can't we? So we want to see where we are at that point. And if everybody's like, oh, well, I'm traveling, I'm going on vacation and I'm going to see my family at the holidays. I'm doing all this stuff. Then maybe they could decide to come to a conference. So we need to really think about that. So I have not looked at the chat, so I'm going to pause my voice, and if anybody else wants to speak, I'm going to look at the chat.
I'll start helping with some of the stuff that's in the chat. So yeah, Stefania, you saw that this poll was done around September 23rd. So just 1 month ago. And that was with our current people who were in our membership meeting. So those would be active people who we would think would be those types of folks who would show up for a USBC meeting. I did stay on for the networking sessions after that call, and we had kind of conversations about where we were. So Camille, kind of to your point about people are traveling for vacation and to see their families. One person who I was in one of the breakouts with, she just had a grandbaby. It was her very first grandbaby, and she was knitting during the call, and she did travel to go see her brand new grandbaby. And I think that personally, that's a different type of movement and momentum to make you want to do a thing than to go to a meeting. Like I traveled for stuff that I had to do for my family, but I didn't go to APHA though. I'm not going to APHA. APHA is massive, so I'm not going. But I love that conference. It's a good one, right? So I think that is the rub, and that is the thing to think about.
I agree, Nakia, you're right. There's travel, right? There's travel and like, I'm going to travel and go to some one person's house. And then there's large groups. And I absolutely, I hear that, right? I just had a friend visit me for a week from Amsterdam, and, she's vaccinated and she did her PCR before traveling. Then she did more testing when she got here. Then she did it again before she left. And we basically did our thing. I took her to the Minuteman Trail. And so it was that. She liked it. It was that, right? We weren't in a big group. We didn't go out to dinner. And so it is different. And I appreciate you lifting that, Nakia. So this is a little bit where we are and what we know. I think maybe we can pop to our question slide just for our questions and next steps, and then see if folks have other questions and things that we want to consider. I think we'll get to what our next steps are between now and the thing, question and considerations. So just always keeping an eye on CDC recommendations for large gatherings, keeping an eye on what's going on in Arizona with any kind of mandates. It's more about if they mandate that you cannot put your own rules in place. So it's like the opposite of a regular mask mandate. It's kind of that thing that, is happening in certain states. So keeping our eyes on that. Hotel, kind of seeing about their permissions and their likelihoods and how they're feeling would be a little bit more to consider. Other thoughts, things to consider, things to chew on for the next
month. Does Arizona have mask prohibition?
Can you say that again, Lourdes?
Does Arizona have mask prohibition?
They don't, but that's what I was lifting, is saying like they don't.
I would not travel anywhere that seems to me like a
yeah, that would be very problematic. I agree.
The other thing that I wanted to lift up, and one reason for waiting till January, I wanted to make clear, is that people will have traveled to see their families, and we do expect to see Thanksgiving and holiday travel. When you wait 2 weeks to 4 weeks beyond that, you'll see what the caseloads are like. And that will be a good time to inform whether or not people are going to still be ready to travel. We'll understand whether or not our vaccines that we all have, whether they're truly up to the test of real deal cold and flu season along with COVID, right? We'll also have, I think that we did do a survey amongst the 100 people or so who came to our membership meeting. We only discussed it today, so all of the details aren't clear, but I think that sometime in that January zone, when everybody is all watching together to see what's happening after the holidays, it would be a good time to send out a survey to our past attendees, not just our members, but our past attendees and members. And I would look at attendees from 2019 and 2021. Maybe not 2018 is starting to get a little distal, but 2019 and 2021 to really see, like, are you personally, are you able to travel? Tell me, and if you're planning to come, to kind of help us inform that decision.
I like that idea a lot, Nakia. So with that, shall we go to our next steps, where we are, where we're going? We have a slide for that.
Yeah, absolutely. So wrapping up, next steps down the road are, here we go. So we're going to be working, like I said, on a survey. This survey is not only going to include objectives. I can make it so that it's both objectives and the learning arcs, kind of a cleaned up version. The staff will also continue to look at this conference format question. Like we said, we're going to put a pin on it, do the survey. We'll come back and look at this in January. And just next steps for the CPC, we are going to be confirming the learning arcs and objectives by the next meeting. And we will start reviewing the proposal rubric so that we can stay on track with kind of launching the call for proposals. All right.
Oh, and just to lift, so our general, just to confirm timeline, so everybody has it in mind, we like to launch our call for presentation proposals like right at the beginning of December. Is that right, Miriam?
Yep, that's the goal.
That we get a little bit of steam before people are, out for, for some holidays and New Year. And so we want to go for that. So the rubric review and all of that is important. And I think in our, consideration, people can submit proposals to do a presentation, and it hopefully, won't matter whether we record them and show them, even if they don't want to travel, if we're having in person, or whether it's an online event. I think that the content is the content, and hopefully we can find a way to communicate that people understand that there's a little flex.
There was one question in the chat box that we didn't address, which was about, and I think it was an excellent question, Stefana, about if you go for an in-person conference, but you offer it up as a hybrid. And I don't think that we didn't show a slide, but there are different types of hybrid conference. But if you have an in-person meeting and you take on a hybrid approach to that, could that potentially make up the cost differential for people who, if you don't meet the room nights obligations? And I think I need to know, what is the fee? Like, I don't know the answer to that. It's a great question, but there is you didn't get the room nights and here's the fee for that. And we need to know that number, I would think. And then we need to think about the ease or difficulty of really managing a hybrid. Okay, well, that's helpful. It depends. That's the answer. Well, we'll see. I don't know yet. We'll see. So I think that's the thing. And I'm actually curious about, tell me about the hybrids that you loved. Like, you went to a hybrid and you felt really fully, deeply engaged. What conference was that? And like, I know APHA is coming, and I know that they're doing a hybrid, and I want y'all to keep in mind, it is APHA. Like, it's like, and if you don't know what I mean by that, it's like a 10,000 person conference, and they make millions off of this conference. That's not us. So.
Yeah, the thing that about the asynchronous version of a hybrid is that it can feel like folks online are kind of watching a webcast, right? So they're getting to see what happens at the thing. But then there needs to be very dedicated. We first of all need to then also have, not only do we have dedicated pandemic staff, but we need to have dedicated online staff as well as a dedicated team running the in-person, because what needs to happen then is that breakout groups and conversation need to happen with the folks online. And it can also happen with some of the folks in person, but when you have 200 people or 100 people in 2 rooms having conversations in tables of 8, and then you have people in, in different states, sorry, there's a little fruit fly in front of me, in different states, we need to make it so it's not just a big din in their ears. And so in some ways it becomes, the complexity ratchets up. It's like, once you have the 3rd kid, it's like, easier than if you have the 2nd kid, when it's like the world changes. So it just, it gets a lot more complicated. So if folks have been to some that have worked and it's worked really well and they've liked it, please reach out and let us know about it. Because one thing that we have been thinking about is if we do an in-person, and then, we maybe have a smaller kind of repackaged thing where everybody who is in person is welcome to also join in on the online. It's a less duration of time. It's a more condensed, but there can still be relations that way. So yeah, right. Synchronous is also informed by the time zone, and we'll be in Arizona if we're doing that. So it's a lot. The synchronous thing is a real lift. I would say that's something that with our staff team size the way it is, it's something that we are a little bit daunted by. I think for us, it's sort of online might then be a better option, or an asynchronous model where we have some event in June at our hotel, and then we maybe have a different packaged version, which is then 2 events, let's just be honest. So that also has to be okay. And we have other projects, but something else to think about for the future. But yeah. A regional scenario, I see Nakia saying in the chat. Thank you all for this. This has been really, I'm so excited about our theme. I hope you all are. That was a really great conversation, and it feels like we have such a great theme. I'm loving it. I'm gonna not remember it to say right again, but it was great. And it's gonna be great. And I look forward to seeing everyone pretty soon. That's what I was thinking about, Stefan. Yeah, to record stuff and then share some out later, like a post package event, but it is sort of creating a full second event. I call that the asynchronous hybrid. Totally. All right, that's all for me. Have a great rest of your day or beginning of the week. Have a great week, everybody.
Have a great week, everybody. Thank you all.
Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Love your hair, Lourdes.
Thank you.
Bye, Pauline.